And we are back with no further ado. Last thing to set up here is going to be the steering linkage right here. Going up to the steering servo, that's where we left off on the last video. It's kind of laid it up here so we can see what we're working on. We're actually attaching it right to this little ball joint. And that is it right here. So we'll snap this little guy on and continue on with our adventure here. Actually going to slide this ball joint further over. Well, that's as far as it's going to go. No, it's not. Kind of bringing it in as close to as possible in here, just to give it the most amount of support that I possibly can, as I try to snap this thing on here. Not so easy with one hand. But I'm going to hit the pause button for this, and we'll be flying right along, because this is just showing the completed front end. And I think the next step is actually mounting the front end onto the chassis. So we'll just hit pause for one quick second here. And we are back. That is clipped on there. And front clip installation. C20. 2 M3 10 millimeters, 2 M3 8 millimeters, 2 M3 10 millimeters. So 2 tapered 10s, or 2 tapered 10 millimeters, 2 tapered 8 millimeters, 2 button head 10 millimeters. Quick look at what we are doing here. I'm not sure through the camera, but these might be the 2 tapered 10s, and those might be the 2 tapered 8s on the outside. These are the 2 button head 10s. Try to see what the number is on that. I'm using the camera here. 176. 176. So yeah, those are the long 10 millimeter ones. Are in the center, and the 2 8 millimeter ones are on the outside edge. They're saying to use Loctite on these guys. And these, I don't think you're going to need Loctite on those guys, because I believe that that's going into the transmission mount right up here to tie all that in. So we'll get this squared away here, start assembling this stuff, and find where these screws are at. These are actually those screws that are on the magnet, what's left over. Yep, that is exactly it. Alright, problem solved. Get our chassis laid out here. I was going to hit the pause button, so maybe I'll delay on the pause button for a second here. Push the motor wires out of the way. And yep, I'm going to have to hit the pause, because I'm going to have to feed this drive shaft into the cup down here, as well as fit this on top of here for that install. And I haven't removed my plate fully yet. I'm kind of hoping maybe I can just kind of spin it out of the way. Not too sure yet. We'll figure that out. And we are back. I did end up taking off that servo plate. I was able to get an Allen wrench, a standard Allen wrench, ironically fit right down through the hole on the servo plate. This hole right here by my thumb. I was able to drop an Allen wrench right down through that and start cranking it down, but you know, I had to use the long part of the Allen wrench and not the short part. And then once I got down to the short part, it was just such a short throw on it. You know, I'd have to keep cranking away forever on it to get it to go in. Plus the plastic is pretty strong, so I had to put some torque on it to thread it into these little points down here. So I ended up taking that off just so I could put the driver on it. So I'm going to go ahead and reattach this back on there. The bottom is all locked down too. They suggest to use Loctite. They provided red Loctite with that, but I went ahead and used my local hobby store's blue Loctite on it. I used that on my trail finder too, so good enough for the trail finder, good enough for this, and that's because it's going into aluminum up there. So that is all installed. I'm going to go ahead and put this plate back on right fast here. Well, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just move this plate over here. So this is my other plate material in here. And we'll just go ahead and turn the page. Put this cap on Loctite so I don't have a mess there. D1. It's a differential one. I don't know. Rear locker assembly. So it looks like we're going to be grabbing, go to bag D. Get 4 M2 10 millimeters. M2 10 millimeter. So we've got our differential, ring gear, gasket, O-ring, washer. No pin, that's right, because on either side of the drive shafts that come in on either side, they've got a square edge on the drive shaft, so that's going to fit directly into the differential. So no little cross pin on these guys. And yeah, we got the locker, the washer, O-ring, and then the differential cup. And then it looks like we're reassembling, or starting to assemble the rear drive shaft. And the sleeve for that. Right on. Well, let's find this bag of parts here, bag D1, and go from there. Quick pause here. Alrighty, well, here is the differential assembly. This is bag D12. Pull that out of there and take a look at it and see whether it's a helical gear or not. Helical. And then I've seen this package in there, so I figured I'd just lay it on the next page because that has some of this drive shaft assembly with the ring gear in here. So I figured I'd lay that over here. At the same time, in the same bag, are the differential halves for the rear axle. Now, one thing I noticed right off the bat, I seen something shining. I was, ooh, what's shining down there? Let's see what we got that's shining in here. Right in here on the side, they got some nuts inlaid into the plastic there. That's pretty cool. WL Toys does not have that. You are just putting screws straight into the plastic on the WL Toys. No metal inserts in here. So I mean, a plastic Vatera Twin Hammers axle would probably be a decent upgrade, just for the fact that you're screwing in the metal versus into plastic. Same with the other half here, screwing in the metal versus screwing in the plastic. As far as screwing the back of the case cover on, that is going to be screwed directly into plastic though. Unless they have, those might be hexed out. There might be nuts that drop into here, into these recesses. So not too sure on that, on the fence on that. I guess we'll have to wait on that for the time to come. And just to say one thing here about this, you know, I keep talking about this and talking about plastic and rigidity and strength and all that stuff, and that is ultimately the moral of this entire truck. Why I bought this truck to begin with was to, you know, because I've seen, you know, was to see do a fair comparison between the two vehicles, between the WL Toys and the Twin Hammers, because I couldn't tell online, you know, by watching other people's videos, I really couldn't tell if there was a difference. You know, not I'm sure there's probably some videos out there of guys like me who are doing the same thing, or people like me that are doing the same thing, and you know, doing a little quality check on the two vehicles. So, nevertheless, the moral of that story was that when I bought the WL Toys, I'd seen a video. I can't remember who it was, or you know, I'm not going to say who it was or anything like that. But the person was, you know, basically said that the plastic from the two models were the same between the Vatera and the WL Toys. The person was talking about strength and how, you know, they had taken it to a place where they had done some testing on it or whatever, and saying that the shear strength was the same and everything else was the same on them. And so, you know, I kind of went off of that and thought that they were basically the same truck, you know. And I really liked the way the twin, or the way the, you know, the chassis on the WL Toys when I bought it. I liked the way that it went off road. I mean, it was different than my Trailfinder. I love my Trailfinder, but it was different than the Trailfinder. You know, so it was, you know, just a different driving experience all around. So I do like the chassis, and I do like the layout. But you know, when you think about it, it was the drivetrain that was the problem on the truck. And like I said, when you think about it, you know that the WL Toys is a clone. This is what they cloned it from. So once again, I wanted to get the kit version of this just to see for myself with my own eyes if there was a difference. And like I said, so far everything's been different. The only thing that I've really, pulled the threads out of as far as plastic goes are the wheels. The wheels, they might be the same material as the WL toy material, wheels or whatever, because those screws they all strip out in the blink of an eye, just like on the WL toys. And once again, that's coming down to using a fine thread screw, and it's such a small screw, and that means the threads are even closer together and even smaller with less depth to them. So ultimately, if you replaced everything with a coarse thread screw, like some old Tamiya screws, you would probably be okay. Just because you're actually getting more surface area for the tooth to bite on, versus the other one just kind of sitting on top of it because the plastic can't really sink into the thread or whatever. But with the soft plastic on the WL toys or the plastic of those wheels, the fact that it's soft, if you use a coarse thread screw, you're going to get a better bite on it. Or the screw is going to get a better bite on the plastic. So once again, WL Toys versus the Twin Hammers, cost effectiveness and reliability. For the money that I put into the WL Toys, I mean, I paid 139 for it originally, but with all the upgrades that I put into it, with all the front differential parts off the Vatera and the wheel hexes and probably the wheels, so maybe don't include the wheels, but it's getting pretty close to the price of this truck. And it's still not reliable yet. I mean, it still needs a different back axle, and judging by the Vatera back axle and that it has all these inserts in it, I haven't seen the axle halves yet. The sides for the axle or the tubes for the axle. I haven't looked at those yet. But so far, yeah, you probably could put this on a WL Toys, and it would probably be a lot better off. Same with the front differential. I don't know. You'd probably be okay with the plastic front differential case, but you definitely want to upgrade the gears on the inside. As far as the drive shaft on the inside, going from the transmission to the front differential, it might hold up for a while just because it's not being bent. If you replace the pins in it with some tougher pins, it would probably last a little bit longer, or maybe break faster. Who knows? But if you were to upgrade to Vatera stuff, it would actually, it would be a good upgrade. Just switching all that stuff out and getting the Vatera stuff. Like I said, ultimately all the problems are just going to work their way. Like as you start upgrading things, they're eventually going to work their way up to the transmission. And as long as you have your slipper clutch adjusted properly, you'll probably be all right with that. But if you do have it kind of tightened down, so I kind of run mine kind of tight and just work off of throttle control, and common sense or whatever as far as braking stuff and not braking stuff. Like if you got a wheel jammed up in between a couple rocks or whatever, and it's just one wheel and the whole chassis is kind of sitting on top of it. Well, you probably don't want to torque your way out of that because you might snap an axle. Or start breaking some gears or shearing some pins. So like I said, if you went upgraded a WL Toys to all Vatera drivetrain from front to back, you'd probably be all right, as far as from what I can see. But once again, by the time you do all that and put all that money into it, you're better off just buying this kit. Yeah, you're gonna have to buy a radio and servos and receiver and whatnot. But if you already have a radio, then all you have to do is buy the receiver and the servos. Which is better anyways. I think if you had a stronger the WL Toys, excuse my phone cord, needs a stronger steering servo in there. That steering servo is incredibly weak. I think if you had a stronger steering servo in there, when you're crawling over things, it would probably give you, it's obviously going to give you better control. So it's not going to be as apt to twist and twist out or whatever, and then snap and break something because you're torquing the wheel so far. If you had the better steering control with a strong servo, it might last a little longer too. So I mean, just upgrading the servos and the radio and all that stuff would be a good start and would probably prolong the life of the drivetrain as well. Just upgrading to stronger stuff or better stuff, so you have better control on your throttle and better control on your braking and better control with your steering. So like I said, that would probably be a help as well. Like a stock WL Toys, if you didn't mess with anything and you left the plastic wheel hexes on it and left the stock pins in it, and either just ran on loose terrain in mud and snow and stuff like that, where you're always spinning the tires and not actually getting lock, or not actually torquing the drivetrain from getting traction on something. As long as you stayed in loose material, you'd probably be okay. And once again, if you start running in stuff that you're really torquing on the wheels with, if you just ran the stock plastic wheel hexes and pins and just carry a pocket full of them and a box wrench so you can replace it on the trail, then that's probably going to be the only thing that breaks, and then the rest of the drivetrain will probably hold up okay. The pins and the wheel hexes or whatever will probably end up being the first thing to go, and it's ultimately the cheapest thing to probably replace or whatever. So, anywho, moral of the story is the plastic is definitely different on the Vetera. Everything is a lot stronger, a lot beefier, drivetrain included. So for the price and everything invested in it, like I said, once again, you're probably better off just getting the kit. I don't know about the ready to run versions. Like I said, initially when I was buying this, the kit listed these popular optional parts that were included in the kit, and the ready to run ones didn't necessarily say what what came in the box for the most part. So kind of like the Trailfinder 2. The ready to run version of the Trailfinder 2 comes with a single speed transmission, but the kit version comes with a 2-speed transmission. So the devil's in the details on all that little stuff. So once again, this one came with full ball bearings, and it came with metal wheel hexes, and it came with metal gears and a transmission, and it came with the heavy duty out drives and the differential locker. So it came with all the stuff, and adjustable shocks. The Wild Truck Warrior, the 10428, doesn't have adjustable shocks. It's got little. You could probably put little plastic shock collars on there over top of the to make the spring a little bit more compressed or whatever. You could definitely put some collars on there. And that would be adjustable. But nevertheless, for the price, not gonna say my price. I got it from Horizon Hobby, so you can look at it and check the price on it. But relatively cheap. Like I said, it was definitely within a negotiable price range, I guess. I'm not gonna really go too in depth on that. So yeah, once again, all you need is your radio and receiver and whatnot. I already have a 4-channel radio sitting here. You can link it up to I don't know, I think like 10 other vehicles or 9 other vehicles or something. So it was just a matter of buying receiver and whatnot. So like I said, nevertheless, what I'm coming to find out is, once again, there's a lot of differences between the two. Everything seems to be different, even right down to the differential cups and all that good stuff. And we're at like 18 minutes already, and I just burned up this whole video just giving you guys a rundown on plastic. Speaking of plastic, it might be beneficial to run a mix match of plastic on some areas. Like maybe these shock towers. If you ran like coarse thread screws going into here, so it had a decent bite on it, and just because they're flexible, if you want to run a fatter battery in here, you could bend the shock towers around it without worrying about or thinking that they might break. But these will probably be okay on that. The little trailing arms that are going to come off of here that link up to the back axle on either side, the WL Toys is extremely flexible from side to side. That might be beneficial to actually have on here. Something that, well, I don't know if it's going to affect twist and articulation yet, but, anywho, like putting on something like that might be, which are these guys right here sitting in the plastic bag here. I did kind of push on these, and they are definitely solid. They do bend a little bit, but nothing like WL. WL, you can really flex on them. But once again, it just comes down to the geometry of the axle. Is it actually flexing those? I mean, if it's not actually flexing them, then it's not going to be not even going to come into play. So now we're at 19 minutes. All right, yep. But this is definitely stronger. And the ring and pinion gear are definitely better. And we might as well just finish off with our conversation before we even advance any further. And I'll have to start up a whole new video. So yeah, once again, maybe coarse thread screws in the wheels. Kit version, probably better than buying the WL Toys. WL Toys might last a while just for cruising around in your backyard or playing in the mud or playing in snow and loose terrain where you're not torquing on the drivetrain. And yeah, like I said, for your money, probably better off just buying this, versus getting the WL. Like I said, if you put new servos in it and a new radio in it, it would probably last a lot longer. But at that price, once again, buy a radio and you buy servos, you got $150 in it right there. And then you're still gonna have to worry about your drivetrain on it. And if you go with the Vatera front differential assembly, that's gonna be like another $50. Then you have to worry about custom fitting it and making your shafts fit in here. Like I said, I had to crank down the turnbuckles for the cantilevers to bring those shafts up in there, and then I had to custom file a washer down here in the end, right down there, to push that drive shaft further in to make that a little bit more positive on a connection. So, I mean, after doing the custom fabbing and the extra money, and, eventually you're probably going to end up putting a bunch of Vatera stuff on it anyways to make it stronger, you might as well just get the Vatera to begin with. So, yeah, that's going to be the end of this video for right now. I'm going to have to start up another one here in a minute. But, like I said, the reason I bought the WL Toys was from other people's videos that were making them seem like they were indestructible, like they could just go through everything, jumping them and tearing through the mud, and just like a commercial would do, like a WL Toys commercial or old commercial in the 80s where they show a toy going through impossible terrain, but in reality it can't do that. So yeah, once again, it was like a whole bunch of false advertisement on YouTube and a whole bunch of false advertisement with other people's videos, not mentioning names or anything like that, but yeah, my WL Toys was definitely not like that. And all my breaks on the WL Toys have happened on video, so the only one that was really sketchy was the last one where I jumped it off that little tree root area, but that wasn't even that tall. That was like maybe 15 or 16 inches. So I think it just landed wrong on the rear axle or whatever, but nevertheless, all my breakage happened on video, and I am definitely being honest about it and giving everybody an unbiased opinion on it, so once again, thanks for watching, everybody, on this video. Sorry we didn't actually do any kind of building on here. We got the parts out for it, but we definitely covered some good bases with the differences between these two vehicles. So once again, thanks for watching. Click like and subscribe. Share with your friends, and we will see you on the next video coming up shortly. Thanks again. Hopefully I'll get this truck done tonight if I quit dilly-dallying and talking and whatnot. Like I said, if the camera was running full-time, I would just be a motor mouth the entire time. So thanks, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll be right back.